I made my kids a bet at the beginning of this summer. And I said, I bet you I can make $1,000 in 30 days with not spending $1 of my own money. And they're like, okay. I made $3,000 in the first 3.5 weeks, and I made $4,000 by the end of 30 days.
But how many TikTok dances did you have to do?
Nothing. You want to know what I did?
Welcome back to another edition of the Rob and Cory Show. We are in a new location due to Cory's carpentry and
somewhat under construction, Rob.
Yeah, but you know what they see, it's great. The outwork, everyone, neon light. It's my first time shooting in here, so man, I want to give you your props.
I'm glad that the cameras are facing this way and not the other way. But
you did a great job, though.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So today we have a special guest, a lady that I've been knowing for a few years via cutting her family's hair. We have Lana Spencer. So
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Lana. On Facebook, Cubana Lana. And why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, gosh. Where do I start? So born and raised St. Paul kid. I am currently the mother of 3 bios and 4 bonus, so 7 kids total. I am a raw vegan, huge real estate enthusiast, really big in food is medicine, kind of run the gambit of things. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so multiple businesses, that type of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lately, you've been dealing with a lot of tiny houses, or are your tiny houses under construction? Or
Yes.
I've been seeing that on Facebook.
Yes. So my first project is in Walker, Minnesota. And so I bought raw land. I've developed the land, put in septic, electric, all that good jazz. I had a tiny home placed on it. And so now we're finally to the part where we can do the interior because the electricity's on. So I've been learning how to do pretty much everything when it comes to construction. Minor plumbing, sheetrocking, basic electrical. I mean, you name it. I'm hopefully only about 2 weeks from the finished date, but I'm ready to be done.
Nice. Nice. What made you want to go into getting your own development and doing a tiny house?
Well, so I love the niche market of it. It's actually the fastest growing niche market in Airbnb. So it's one of the most sought after stays. It's like tiny house and those types of experiences. It's also a simpler way to get into real estate because it's not as high as the cost in the beginning. So if you don't want to have to put a ton of cash in advance, tiny homes are a great way to do it. And you don't even necessarily have to develop the land. You could just purchase raw land and then hold it. So I'll give you an example. The property that I bought for about $20,000, but they bought it 4 years ago for about $6,000. So you could just sit and hold. So raw land and things like this are pretty lucrative. After development, I'll do the BRRRR method, and I'll probably be able to pull out about $125,000.
So aren't you, so like you said, this is probably one of the most lucrative Airbnb situations. Mm-hmm. Airbnb right now, I'm worried about it because of all the restrictions coming into different associations and condos and stuff like that. They don't want any short-term leases. So this might end up being the only Airbnb situation that's available. Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned the BRRRR method. Explain to us what the BRRRR method is. We know what it is. We're smart. But, just for people who haven't heard of it.
Sure. So it's basically buy, renovate, refinance, rent, and repeat. So that's what the acronym stands for. Mm-hmm. Mine falls within that, but I'll just be doing short-term rentals. Mm-hmm. But to your point about the volatility within the real estate market now for Airbnb, it is true. But this one is a little different because when you buy rural land, they don't have a lot of those regulations.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a lot more freedom. I will say, if you're going to go this route, you really need to do your due diligence on the land that you decide to purchase because they do have building restrictions. They have if you don't buy residential land, if it's recreational, sometimes you can't stay on it all the time. You have to apply for an exception. So there are some nuances. It took me 2 years to find my first piece of land to buy because of those nuances. And I saw countless places. So, yeah.
That's persistence right there.
Oh, man. It started to get to desperation by the end. I'm like, I just need one piece of land. Just one.
So you looking to expand to more?
I have 2 more
properties?
properties in Garrison already. So Walker should be finished within the next 2 weeks. Garrison, the 2 properties there, they've been cleared, so they're ready. The only thing I'm running into is it's cold now, so they don't do some of the groundwork, like your septic and well, once the ground gets too cold. So I'm kind of running up against a clock. But if anything, I'll just do those in April when it starts to thaw out. But yeah, I ideally will do about 5 here, and then I'll move into Wisconsin. Ideally, I'll do this all over the U.S. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun
But right now, you've just done Minnesota.
so far.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Have you seen the people that do the glamping?
Yes.
You know, where you buy like the land. Have you seen this?
Mhm.
It's like land, and then
Yeah.
they just put up like a luxury tent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was out at a glamping site not too long ago, and I still thought I was gonna get eaten by like something big, man. Like it was still like it wasn't as luxurious as I thought it was gonna be.
You were way out.
I was in like Bayfield, Wisconsin, so I was like 3 hours away.
Mhm.
A wooded area.
Yeah, and it was one of my friends who got the tent. I rented like a normal hotel, and he got the tent. So I was like, I got to see this, and I had to go through like an obstacle course to get to it. There was like a rope. It was like a rope bridge that you had to walk across and do all this
Indiana
stuff.
Jones.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like if you tried to drink and then get there in the middle of the night, you're not being able to do that.
Oh.
But then I walked in there and it was nice. It had like a bed inside there and there was a ton of bugs in there though.
Inside the.
Oh yeah. But I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the glamping thing might be the even cheaper way to go than
It
this
is.
tiny house. Just grab a tent, put it up there.
It is. I would recommend, depending on what climate you're in, though, getting 4-season tents, because I looked into that, and you can do it. It is much less buy-in.
How much is a 4-season tent?
$600.
I
$600.
never even heard of a 4-season tent.
It's just got thicker material on the outside, and then you buy a wood burning stove to put inside of it for heating. It's not overly complex, and you can build the platforms out of like what do they call those, pallets, and just build a quick platform. You throw it up there. It is a pretty inexpensive way to get it in, but again, you have to look at the county regulations, and those can be a little more complicated to ensure. But
Then you can build like a whole experience, like a Blair Witch experience. You know what I mean? So they show up to go to bed and they wake up to like something creepy standing in the corner of their tent. I'm just thinking.
You
that's
would.
on my list, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys ever went.
Started.
I don't know if you guys ever did like the zombie pub crawl when they had it here, but like I was a
I heard
huge
about it.
fan. Oh, it was a blast. So what I want to do is I want to get like 40 acres of land and I want to put on zombie runs. And
Nice.
people would pay top dollar, like
Oh,
paintball
definitely.
zombie runs.
Oh,
People
definitely.
would love it. And then you can pair it with your campsites. Like you can offer overnight stays, you can have food trucks, whatever you want. And then for like 3 months, you have people come out there and do these zombie runs.
But see, that's the only stuff that entrepreneurs think of.
Mm.
You know, try to maximize everything.
Yeah.
But most entrepreneurs think of stuff like this and then they just don't act on it. I shouldn't say most entrepreneurs, say people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone comes up with good ideas. They just don't actually.
You gotta have the grit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people think entrepreneurialism is like this glamorous lifestyle, but the truth is it's you gotta have a lot of grit to survive in the like entrepreneurial world. It's a lot of work, especially in the beginning. And what is it? I think 50% or more of like businesses fail within the first year. Is that what
I thought it was like 90.
Maybe it's more.
Did you see the old videos of Jeff Bezos where he was talking about how he was famously unprofitable? Like Amazon was famously unprofitable. And remember, Jeff Bezos was like a nerdy looking dude back then. Now look at the dude, man. He pops up with his leather vest, bald head, sunglasses. He's like, dude, I got a spaceship now. What's up, homie?
Super GQ.
Then he started in a garage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazon started in a garage.
Yep.
But I mean, again, it's grit. And it's
Selling books.
Yeah.
I don't even know anyone who reads.
me. I read.
I just met Coupon Lana.
I read a lot.
I say I read books, but really it's just all audible. It's all audible. I'm like, hey, I'm reading a book right now, Rob. Really, I'm just listening to it while I work out.
So you haven't read my book.
What?
No.
Once I get it on Audible, that's when you're gonna listen to it.
Sorry. Reading's not for I'm like a bit of a naturalist. I like to actually have
No,
a book in my hand.
actually, we talked about this before. I did 75 hard, and you got to read every day, and I actually really enjoyed it. And I probably got through like 4 books.
Oh, that's good.
And I don't know if that's fast or slow, but in that 75 days, I got through like 4 books, and I liked it, and that was pretty good. It's pretty good. And then on day 76, I instantly went back to Audible. Instantly started listening to books again. I was like, this is way better. I can do it while I'm driving. You try to read a book while you're driving, it doesn't work good.
No, I would recommend
it
against
doesn't.
that.
Yeah, it doesn't
I would
work.
say don't do
doesn't
that.
work great, but Audible does.
I realized I could read a book in a day when I had to read my own book to edit it. I was like, okay, it can be done.
Yeah.
But it took me to read my own book. So I think I started at 8 a.m. and got done by like 3 o'clock.
It's not bad.
See, when you have ChatGPT write your whole book, you got to read through it to make sure that.
Oh, wow. Hit the button. Come on. I didn't know which one you was going to hit. ChatGPT. Wow.
Yeah.
So Coupon Lana, what does that stand for? What's that about?
I'm just Cuban, and my name is Lana.
Oh, I thought maybe you were like a couponer, like you just like
B,
really big on like cutting.
It's
no,
a B.
it's
Cubana. Oh, Cubana.
Yeah,
I thought it was a
Cubana
Alana.
No.
I was like, dang, man, she cuts out them Cub Foods coupons every week. There's people that save a lot of money with that stuff, man.
Oh, it's a thing, but I don't have the time or the brain capacity for something like that.
I know.
That's a segue into veganism.
Oh, yeah. I'm heavy in veganism. I love it. It's great. I've been a predominantly raw vegan for almost 5 years now. Yeah.
It's difficult. I like veganism better than vegetarianism.
Really?
Yeah.
'Cause most people prefer vegetarianism.
No, it's because most vegetarians that I know, they don't actually eat any vegetables.
What?
Yeah, they just eat like cheese pizza and stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So typically, like, if a lot of people are vegan because of the healthy results and they're looking for a healthier lifestyle, a lot of people are vegetarians because they love cats. So it's 2 separate things.
See, I love cats.
So do I.
I'm on both
I'm
sides.
a cat man myself, but I still eat a cow, but I like a cat a lot. So explain to us the veganism, why you decided to go that route.
So I got really ill years ago with an autoimmune condition. Like my thyroid just absolutely went berserk on me. And the only thing that Western medicine offered me was a bunch of pills and then like to remove my thyroid. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like a good solve. I think I'm going to say no to that. And so I went and worked with a naturopath, and she kind of introduced me to, food as medicine and like lifestyle changes and stuff. And through that guidance, I kind of went down the rabbit hole of like natural medicine because, again, I didn't want to manage the condition. I wanted to get rid of it because I feel like the body is like self-sustaining, right? You can reach homeostasis in the right environment. And so I started reading heavily into like what kind of foods really serve you, herbalism, what type of things you can incorporate in your life to kind of help guide you back to a place of balance. And I was able to do it. And I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my life. I mean, even 15 years ago. So
my dad's a vegan.
Is he?
Yeah.
Good for him. That's awesome.
He will jump out of it occasionally. He'll be vegan for like years, and then he'll like have like one really nice meal, like steak or something, and then he'll feel bad because he cheated. He'll go back into it for like 2 more years.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife tried it for a while. She struggled with it. After a few weeks, she was like, man, I don't know how to do this. I know there's certain nutrients that you have to supplement, right? Like vitamin Bs and stuff like that.
Well, so I guess for me, and I always say like for me, because again, it really depends on your chemical makeup and things like that. But for me, the only things I'll take are iodine supplement, because there's not a lot of iodine in vegan food because you're not like eating fish and all that good jazz. And then I also will take what's called Daily Green Boost, which is like a nutritional supplement that kind of covers the gambit. But I mean, I'll take magnesium and stuff. But other than that, most of it's in my food.
Okay.
I try to kind of stay away from all of those if I can. But again, I can't stress enough, get a blood panel done. Like, don't just be like, oh, I'll be good. Because if you're already really deficient, going into veganism, especially if you're not nutritionally sound and what you should be eating, that can be really dangerous.
Do you find it expensive?
I mean, I think you just shop smarter. At least that's been my take on it is I don't, because it's give and take, right? Like I don't drink coffee. I don't buy like the
What?
novelty foods.
He said, what?
Dude, you know why being a vegan would be expensive for me?
I don't drink
Because
coffee.
every like 3 days I throw away the salad I bought 3 days ago. And then next time I go, I get a big thing of baby spinach, throw that whole thing away too.
See, you
And
got
so
like
I buy it all. I just don't actually eat
meal
any
prep?
of it. Occasionally, like I'll go through like, I might meal prep for like 2 or 3 months here, 2 or 3 months there.
Yeah.
I need a meal prep.
But I don't do it. But have you seen the Netflix documentary? It's called Live to 100.
No.
And
The
it's
Blue Zones.
The Blue Zones, man. Have you watched
Yeah.
that?
I do know about those, yes.
Yeah.
And so in the Blue Zones, the one thing that he found like 5 or 6 different like things that every Blue Zone shared in common, and then he created a Blue Zone in Minnesota, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Albert Lee.
I was shocked when I seen that.
I know, man, because I thought for sure one of them had to do with like the warm climate.
Yeah.
But so most of them are plant-based diets. I mean, they eat meat and a lot of them, but most of them are like mainly plant-based, small portions of meat. And one of the things he was talking about is the different nutrients that you need, with the proteins and such. They're able to get from like beans and stuff. And so they're basically they're combining foods that basically give them all the positives of meat with none of the negatives, like the cholesterol and the fat.
Yep.
So
it's a lot of gathering too, getting with friends and family and not getting put in a old folks home, or there's a lot of exercising, which in their case, moving, walking, lifting.
But you see so many different
active.
conflicting, like, because there's the who's her name? I think her name is Gabrielle Lyon. Have you heard of her? She's a doctor on YouTube, and she's big on longevity, like that's her specialty, and she's all about eating animal proteins. But she says that it has to do with amino acids, not necessarily anything else. So she says the animal will actually eat the food, and then it will distribute all the amino acids that we need in the actual amounts that we need of all the essential amino acids. And then we eat the animal. So now we have the amino acids in the correct dosages. And so she says, well, even from a longevity standpoint, even if it's true that you won't last as long, she says skeletal mass is what's going to make you happy. So you're going to be happier throughout your life. So maybe I won't live till 95, maybe I'll only live till 90, but I'll be happier for those 90 years. So you hear a lot of conflicting stuff.
I feel like you have to follow the money on a lot of those studies, right? So
that's what she says.
Yeah, you do. Like, and I agree with that. Now, I personally don't eat meat, but I do agree that a lot of our studies are funded by different industries. So like if you look at our food pyramid from, let's say, the last 50 years, and you look at who funded the studies to create that, well, it was the dairy industry, it was the meat industry, it was the wheat industry, when really our pyramid should be full. Like if you're going to do meat, you don't need a lot of it. It's not something you need a ton of. Also, quality of meat is a big deal because, okay, if you're going to go with like kind of more of like a carnivore diet, then you need to eat good meat.
Correct.
Because I don't think meat, like, I
got to go to whole paycheck.
All the
Whole Foods.
I know, right? But
That's what you call it, whole paycheck?
Whole paycheck.
it can get pricey, but again, you buy smart. Go buy a quarter of a cow or something. I'm like, sure, all the vegans are going to be rolling their eyes at me. But if you're going to be a meat eater, then one, source good meat. Go to like your local butchers and things like that. Buy in bulk, but it's really about the quality of food that you're eating too.
So that's one of the arguments to follow the money. So if it's a commodity, it falls under USDA, right? And so then you can make the argument like companies like Beyond Meat, they're a private company, so they can just market the crap out of themselves, right? Whereas if you're a commodity, you got to come up with like slogans like "Got Milk," like it's all pulled together as like one thing,
Yes.
The other white meat, you know what I mean? Pork. But there's no like private company. These are all the farmers kind of like gathering together, coming up with their own slogans for a product itself, rather than a private company dumping billions of dollars into buying that product.
Yes.
So for me, that makes me feel like there's actually less money put into the eggs, the milk.
Well, you also have to think that it's got government subsidies. So when I say follow the money, you have to follow the entire start to finish. So they do get a lot of government subsidies for things like that. And then the government does pour money into those type of campaigns. There's lobbying. It's a very intricate web of follow the money when it comes to things like that. And when you look, so you also have to look to see like who benefits the most, right? So like let's look at the medical industry. So I'm a big fan of like herbalism. But there's what studies really are there that there are on herbalism. Well, not many. And the reason is because there's no money if you teach people they can go out into the forest and find their medicine. Like, you don't have to buy it anymore. Then you've literally deleted one of your customers. And so finding the money to publish those studies is hard to do because when you look at pharmacology, well, you've got the big drug companies that are able to put all that money towards the studies and all those other things. So yes, you're going to find more studies on why you should take pharmacology instead of herbalism. So like that's another thing of like follow the money where there's, to your point that you were making, when there's like a lack of money, there's not a lot of data that goes into that. But things like holistic medicine, there's not government industries that are like, yeah, let's teach people how to use, dandelion for heart conditions instead of giving them Bayer. An interesting fact, and this is super funny to me, I learned this years ago, is the company that owns Roundup is Bayer. Bayer is one of the number one medicines they tell people who have heart conditions to take.
And Roundup causes all the problems because they spray it on everything.
Well, Roundup kills dandelions. Do you want to know what the number one things dandelion do for the body? Protect your heart.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That
is hilarious.
You gotta be your own.
Man, the thing is, though, the reason why this conversation is so dangerous because I almost feel like I can become kind of conspiracy when I start talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
like what she just said. I'm like, man, they're out to get us. They're out to get us. What else?
Like Monsanto.
Oh, yes. That is a rabbit hole.
Who's that?
Monsanto. They're a weed killer too, but
they own all of the seeds.
Yeah,
and
for
they're
the
known to
stuff.
put out. Yeah. So Monsanto has a huge lobbying power within our government, and they grow a lot of our crops. Mm-hmm. But also what they'll do is they'll deliberately buy land next to like the mom and pop farms. Yeah. And if their seeds crossbreed they will sue that farm next door. Basically for its infringement because they've, what do you call that, copywritten or whatever, their crops. And then they'll put them out of business, buy that land. They've been known to do it all over. And then also they own something like 80% of the world's seed supply. And it's all GMO'd and it's all been treated. So finding organic seeds is much more complex. And it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Chem streams.
That's chemtrails? Oh, that's
the chemtrails.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
Right. Yeah.
So a few years ago, was it a few years ago you started your podcast or a year ago?
We had our first season last year.
Oh, last year. Okay.
Yeah. So, and it went pretty well. It took off and we had a lot of great support. I mean, we talked about all kinds of things, finance, relationships, co-parenting. I mean, kind of the whole gambit of things. We're hoping to start up again, but his schedule and my schedule are so intense right now because we're both like heavy in the entrepreneurial world. He just launched a business that's doing incredibly well. My businesses are taking off. So we're like, I don't know when we're going to have to like literally catch each other in traffic for 20 minutes to do this podcast in a car at this point. But no, it went really well and we really enjoyed it. And the reception for it was really good.
What was the name of the podcast again?
Love and War.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were some of the topics that you all talked about?
Oh gosh, there's such a gambit. So we talked about co-parenting.
Okay.
A lot. Both of us have children. You and I have talked about it. I run my life in like a tribe setting. So my ex and I, we have 2 biological children together, but then between myself, him and his wife, there's 7 kids and we raise them together. I mean, we do family vacations together. Everybody gets along really well. It's really nice. And so we have a great setup and I love it. But, some of the individuals we've talked to on the other side where it can be really complicated to co-parent, when things don't end well and people don't get along really well.
This dude has 2 women to take care of all his kids? Sounds like he's winning.
I don't know.
He's like, you got to go to work, babe? All right, let me call Coupon Lana real quick and see if she can take care of...
Coupon.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like he gets a little ganged up on when we're like, dude, what's going on? But it is, we love it. It goes really well. The kids are super well-rounded and really well cared for and everybody gets along great. But it's not to say that there aren't, like, I'm sure I get on his nerves all the time and like, vice versa. But at the end of the day, for me, my mentality is it's like, I've had 2 whole people with you. Like we've had 2 babies together. For us to be enemies is just wild. Like it's wild. Because your well-being directly correlates with my children's well-being. So for me to try and make life difficult, it's just strange behavior, in my opinion. And it's like, if I loved you once, you don't just hate someone, right? Like it just evolves. I still love him dearly. He's one of my best friends and I want what's best for him. But He found an incredible partner who gets along great, and I love it because he and I were oil and water in that regard, but we're great friends now. So.
My baby's mom does not feel that way about me.
No.
Soundbite. Put that right there. My baby's mom does not feel the same way about me. You got to put that on. You got to put that on a button, man. Now you have your own button.
We definitely because I think so. My co-host, he's on social media as Easy Senior, but his name is Leo Jackson, and so he's got some of that. You know, there's some, I'll say, complexities to the relationships he has with the women that he co-parents with. But so
you say women that he co-parents with?
Well, because he has
saying it like he's got like 5 or 6 of them.
No, but I just like
who is this Leo Jackson? Can you book him for next week, bro?
It's Dolomite.
No, I just but I think at the end of the day, both sides have good intentions and like they do their best, but they're, kids for it. But again, I mean, I think emotions are complicated. And I think a lot of the times we don't take the time to really digest those types of emotions. And so then it harbors kind of this ill will and it doesn't serve anyone. Because I mean, let me preface this by also saying it was not always rainbows and unicorns with like me and my ex. Like we had to go through like a period where, we didn't get along that well. But what we did is we were like, we'll fake it till we make it in front of the kids. And it's all smiles and everybody's great. But maybe behind closed doors, I'm like, you and I both know we can't stand each other right now. That's fine. But you evolve like over time, right? And at the end of the day, whether I liked him at that moment or not, like it's still us versus everything against us, period, right? Because you have to be well for my children to be well. And I also love and care for you as a person. Even when I don't necessarily like you right now, I'm still going to be solid. And he views me the same way. So we were able to work through a lot of that. And I think that just, as parents, you kind of have to do that.
Yeah, because the kids, they suffer in the end.
They do. And it's not fair because they didn't ask for us. We asked for them.
Yeah, that's exactly the biggest setback when the parents don't get together or they can't come to an agreement. Kids know, they feel the vibe.
They do.
It's just one of those things that
they do.
Both of y'all have to suck it up, and figure it out because, like you said, there's whole people that just came from both of us, mainly the female, and you just got to raise them.
You do. And at the end of the day.
Unless you want the world to raise them, and we already know how that is right now.
Right? Yeah, I'm not doing that. So. But I also have some interesting perspectives on like the whole setup of like our legal system when it comes to raising children and all this stuff. It's just,
dang, man, you're going to set me off on some tangents. We don't even talk about on this podcast. The legal system's messed up because in our state, it's because the mom always wins, regardless of the scenario.
And I don't agree with that. Yeah. So I personally, like my viewpoint is that all children should be 50-50 custody at birth. And I think what that does is it takes away that power struggle because then you have to figure it out together.
It's true.
You have to figure it out together because, listen, if you are gonna take my kid 50% of the time, like we're gonna figure something out. We would get a duplex and live next door or something because both of us should have access to our child. And if we don't get along, we're gonna have to figure it out. Because again, I don't think it's fair because I think that mothers are viewed as a adequate parent from jump, whereas fathers have to prove that they're adequate parents. And I don't necessarily think that's fair. I also don't, and people hate when I say this, but I don't agree with the way that our child support system is set up either. I have had the benefit of not ever having to go through the child support system.
I had to go through it.
It sounds painful.
On the bad end.
Yeah, it sounds, I have a lot of really, really great fathers in my life who are very involved, and I've watched them jump through absolute hurdles to be able to be good fathers, and it's not good. I've
cut a lot of fathers that have been just pulling their hair out, just trying to
be fathers.
It's some of the stories are amazing.
And it's crazy because I've seen instances more than once where the children would have been better off having the father have full custody. And because the mother just happens to be the mother, that's not the case. And I'm like, now these kids are in a situation that doesn't necessarily serve them as well as they would have. Yeah, we see that all
the time. I see that all the time.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
On your podcast, I think you had one of those videos of yours. Did it hit 2 million or
something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I seen it. What was that one about?
There was a couple of them that did really well. So this was the one that we were talking about, like, who's the catch? And
Okay.
like, so the way that the podcast started is they were basically talking about how, like, men are the choosers, right? Like, men choose wives, like, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, okay, well, then riddle me this. I'm like, if we're not the catch, why do you guys spend all your life chasing us? Like, who's the catch? If you're trying to chase us, then aren't we the catch? And you guys can say, like, we choose, but like, men choose their wives, but women have to say yes. And so, like, my whole point to that was because they're basically saying, like, women have started to, like, lose their value and all this other good jazz. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll put it to you this way. Maybe surround yourself with women that you feel are valuable. Because
I think there was like a cultural phase recently where there was a lot of this high value this, high value that popping up all over the place.
Yes.
And
there's
and a lot of people got pretty deep into that.
heavy.
Yeah.
The red pill situation kind of overtook the internet for like a year.
Kevin Samuels kind of had
there's
that.
so much.
Yeah.
So much overturn. And it's so interesting because I think that there's a lot of double standards on both sides in that conversation. Like that whole, like, what do you bring to the table thing? I'm like, well, can we all just agree that you should kind of start with your own table to begin with? Like, you should be a self-sustaining adult. So if you don't have the basics to be a self-sustaining adult, the whole ideology that you should be talking about what someone else brings to the table is wild to me. And I personally don't believe that you should look at someone else to, one, make you happy, and two, wholeheartedly take care of you. You know what I mean? For me, I'm like, it's great to get in relationships, but there's got to be, it has to be reciprocal, right? Like, there has to be reciprocity on both sides. And this whole idea that, like, one person has to bring more than the other, or again, we're creating this unnecessary power struggle.
Well, I think that, you're in a situation right now where you co-parent with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, why can't it be where one person brings something that has nothing to do with monetary value to the table, and the other person brings the monetary stuff, and that's what evens it out?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Is like, it's reciprocity. Like, you're allowed to define what you deem as valuable, and it's not always going to be money. Like, I'll be honest, in my relationships, I have typically been the breadwinner, and it's never bothered me. It doesn't bother me.
But it probably did bother them. It probably bothered them.
Well, I don't know if they were being truthful.
We're going all the way back to the red pill thing again.
When I've asked, the answer I've gotten is no.
He's like, "Now, can I get 10 for gas?"
Well, I'll say I've never had to, like, support them financially, but, like, I've been the breadwinner, and for me, it didn't bother me because at the end of the day, financially, I just feel like taking care of myself and my children is, like, my priority. So I've always made that my priority. But I guess I value, like, emotional support and life support more so. So I guess that's, like, my idea of, like, value you bring to me.
And going back to those comments that you got on that video, you got to think about a lot of the people who's making comments. They're probably not even in the space to be making comments. You know, we're in a society where everybody's opinion is deemed valuable when you're talking from behind a camera or a phone. And,
I know, man, but when you start putting out videos and stuff like that, if you read through the comments you get, you realize real quick that none of that's true.
Yeah.
You put out a video about a topic and someone just come in there and just rip your topic apart. And then you click to see who they are. And they got no profile picture. They got 2 subs or something like that. You know what I mean? They're just out here to troll you. Like, that's their whole purpose.
There's a lot of that. We definitely got a lot of that. But I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, all publicity is good publicity in the world of, like, trying to build audiences and have good discussions.
When I get a negative comment, I usually heart it and thumbs up it, and then I don't say anything back.
I say thank you.
I've done that before.
Your contribution.
I've done that before.
Yeah,
I've said, like, thanks for watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just want your energy and your time and everything. So want to be seen.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't bother me. I'm like, whatever.
So let's talk a little bit about you being the breadwinner, since this is typically we like to discuss business on this podcast. We talked about your real estate business. We talked about you cutting coupons. Turns out that was a myth. That's not true.
Yeah, I don't cut coupons.
So, and you mentioned you're the breadwinner. So, you had to have started somewhere, right? So
I did. Well, full disclosure, and this is why I firmly believe anyone can do anything they want with their life. Look, at the end of the day, I was a child raised on very humble means by a single mother in Frogtown in Minnesota. I did not graduate high school. I got my GED when I was pregnant with my daughter. I have literally used grit and really hard work to get where I am. I climbed the corporate ladder and did really well for myself in that. And then just, I'm a hustler at heart. Like, I watched my mom work really hard to support us, and I watched her struggle. And I just remember being like, I don't want to be that stressed.
Strangely enough, I also lived in Frogtown as a child. Also have a GED.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love Frogtown. I'm still a Frogtown kid.
Are you?
Yeah. I live in Crystal now, but like my heart is, I love the community. I love the people there. I love how diverse it is. I love how kind everyone was there. Like, Frogtown is always going to be home. But I feel like struggle breeds resilience. And I think a lot of times people look at their circumstances negatively because it was hard. I mean, yeah, there's definitely times when I was like, this is not easy. But I wouldn't have the grit that I do today if I didn't have those circumstances. So I'm still grateful for that opportunity to live and like it to give me what I have today. Because I tell you what, the 15-year-old me would have never seen me in the position I am today. Like, that's
because you didn't quit.
So GED, grew up in Frogtown. Then where'd you go from there? Because you said climb the corporate ladder. So I assume that you were able to, make some money and save it up in order to start your current ventures. So how'd that start?
Well, honestly, I think I really started getting serious about life when I got pregnant with my daughter. I was 19 and I was bartending. I'm making just stupid money bartending. Like, but you're a kid, you don't know what you're doing with it. And then I got pregnant. I was like, oh gosh, I guess I have to like be an adult now. And so I decided to get like a corporate position and stepped into that. And I did pretty well. I started off at like $17 an hour. Right. And which back then was pretty decent.
Yeah, it was probably like $30 right now.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
At my like first corporate position. Prior to that, I did a bunch of temping, and that's what helped me move up. So basically I started in the temp world, but then I agreed that every new assignment I took, I would ask for $2 more an hour. And so I did that for about a year, and that was able to like really push me forward. And then I just, I always worked pretty consistently. I worked multiple jobs. But I didn't really get serious about business until like the last 5 years because I've just been raising babies and like figuring it out. And
so what type of work was it? You said corporate work.
So I am an executive administrator. So I basically support a bunch of executives within a global business. Okay. And I love it. It's busy work.
What kind of bartender were you? Were you at like a club or a restaurant, or what were you doing?
So I worked at a bar off of Jenks and Arcade.
Jenks and Arcade, I know this.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to work at Club Cancun for a couple of years.
Did you? Oh gosh, yeah.
You want to turn everybody away, tell them to pull their shirt up, see if they had a belt on.
If I liked you, you could come in. It didn't matter. If I didn't like you,
you got a logo on your shirt, you can't get in.
Oh man,
that was Cory.
Cancun was fun though. I liked Cancun, but so I worked there, and then I also worked at Blackie's in Oakdale and bartended there for a while. I was a cook and a waitress at Mickey's Diner in downtown St. Paul, the trolley car. Did that. I actually worked 3 jobs at that point, which was grueling. I worked 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then noon to 9. And then I also had like side hustles. So did that for a while. Just kept on going. And then as my kids got older, I got more serious about business. Started to climb more.
So what was your first business venture then?
Oh, I did photography for a bit. Decided I didn't really like that. It was not a thing.
Now AI does that.
It totally does. Definitely does. And then I think the first one that really went well was during the pandemic. I was laid off, which I actually really enjoyed. I had like 5 months and they gave me severance. Oh my God, me and the kids had the best summer. It was fantastic. But I started a virtual assistant company just to like supplement and had no idea how well it was going to go. And it went much better than I thought.
How do you compete with like the foreign people on Fiverr?
Well, so
I tried to come up with a virtual video editing company one time. I was like, and I feel like you can't compete with like the people in India and stuff that will do it for so cheap.
Well, I think part of it is one, I've got a lot of experience in this world. So I can do anything from calendar management all the way up to build really complex reports and PowerPoints and accounts receivable, accounts payable. I just have a ton of experience. And I've also worked really well in the global business. So it's just knowing your niche markets. Like my clients are typically like CEOs of their own company, and they want someone who really understands the business. Like I've done sales, all kinds of things. Like I just offboarded one because they got a full-time assistant out where they are, but I was running their sales department, marketing, all that stuff. And it went really well. And you got to be good at what you do. And again, you are your marketing, right? Like you have to be able to interview well. You got to know what you're talking about. So
is that like your main business right now? Virtual assistant?
it's still corporate. That's still like a side hustle. I could do it full time, but I don't want to. I really like my corporate life. And that eventually is going to be a passive business. So like I have 2 people who work under me right now, which is great. And they keep 75% of what I charge the clients. And then I just take the rest off the top. And it's really nice. And I'm just going to continue to grow it that way because I don't want to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it and I'm really good at it. But there's a lot of really skilled people I could hire to do it instead. And I'd rather it be a passive business because my goal is to get to a point where everything's passive. The whole reason I'm like grinding as hard as I do right now is because one day I just want all the freedom in the world to just do what I want. I don't want to be at the beck and call of anybody else.
So I'm going to claim to have read a book right now, but really I've just listened to it. It's called the E-Myth Revisited. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
I can't remember who it is, but the whole point of it is like everybody is basically 3 parts, right? So you're the entrepreneur, which is like the guy who comes up with all the ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of like the creative brain.
Mm-hmm.
And you are the manager, which is the person who does all of the management organization for the business, structures it. And then you're the technician, which is the person who actually does all of the things. And the whole point of the book was basically how people who are technicians, and in the book they use the example of like someone who bakes pies.
Oh, okay.
And she loves baking, and she baked with her aunt when she was growing up, and she loved the smell of pies. She loved everything it was about baking pies.
Yeah.
And then she opens up a bakery because people told her she should, and then she hates pies, and she hates baking pies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, in my business, because I'm in real estate, right, they say this is like the only job where, people are willing to quit their 40-hour-a-week job to work 80 hours a week in real estate to be their own boss.
Yeah.
But people don't realize, technicians don't realize when they're trying to get rid of their boss, they actually have to become their own boss.
Mm-hmm.
And so now instead of hating your boss, you actually hate your job. You hate, you hate the books. You hate the marketing. You just want to bake pies. You just want to be a technician. So
yes,
you got to really hire wherever you're weak, you have to hire those
yes.
parts. So for me, it's management, organization.
Mm-hmm.
Like I consider myself to be an entrepreneur technician. When it comes to management, I need to hire a virtual assistant or somebody else to help me out.
Yeah, but that's true of a lot of really successful entrepreneurs. Like that's why. So the VA side of things is booming right now because that's very common for most people. Is they're great at the ideas and they're great at like the doing, but the whole like sideline stuff, like setting up accounts payable, making sure all of your background stuff is done, putting all the stuff on the calendar, like all that like kind of in the weeds stuff is what most
replying to
people don't.
emails. Just text me.
Yes.
Just text message me.
I got 1 word and 3 letters. Chat GPT.
It can help. Like there's some really good integration tools you can use that are helpful in that world, but some stuff you just need a person to handle.
Yeah,
and that's where like that's majority of my clients, that's where they come in because they've tried the apps, they've tried all the like tools you can use to get all that stuff done. But I mean, people like to talk to a person too. So like if you have a customer facing business where you're going to be talking to people, you want someone to answer the phone. You want someone to respond with a human touch to your emails. Like it's just those types of things. But yeah, I know how to do all of that, but I'm now more in my lens of doing like, the whole entrepreneur thing and more of the technician piece. I don't really want to manage a lot of that stuff, which is why I like the VA being passive.
So let's just say I'm a young person, 22 years old, getting out of college or whatever. And I'm really interested in being an entrepreneur. Right now, it's really difficult to break into a lot of different things because of inflation. And it seems like the bar of entry is like higher for a lot of different things for kids right now. I have a 22-year-old. And I just feel like she makes good money, but I do feel like it isn't really translating to good money.
I feel like, well, I mean, I guess my opinion on that is just you can do anything and be successful. It's how you do it, right? So any niche market that you want to get into, do your due diligence, do your research, and think outside of the box. Like decide what do you love about it, right? So I say this is like tip for me. I find today to be one of the most lucrative times in my life that I've ever experienced. And I think there's a lot of reasons behind that. One, we have the power of social media. So, I mean, there's people making millions of dollars literally just making videos and TikToks all day long.
Mm-hmm.
You can go online right now and sell merch for other companies and just sign up as an affiliate and make money that way. Like there's so many. I made my kids a bet at the beginning of this summer. And I said, I bet you I can make $1,000 in 30 days with not spending $1 of my own money. And they're like, okay. I made $3,000 in the first 3.5 weeks, and I made $4,000 by the end of 30 days.
But how many TikTok dances did you have to do?
Nothing. You want to know what I did? You know what I did? I flipped a couple of free things off of Facebook Marketplace. That's how I got my first cash. I went and bought a couch from a thrift store for $25. I flipped that for $150. Then I took that money and again reinvested it in some other stuff. I flipped furniture. I got free dressers. I got like 6 free dressers, just picking them up. One of them, if you look online on eBay, that brand sold for about $2,500 a piece. I flipped it, whatever, it took me 2 hours, refinished it. I sold that for $450. So like, that's what I mean is there's all these ways to make money. Like if you are looking for like a side hustle, I'm an affiliate marketer for this product that I love, which I just happen to love the product. And the owner of the company reached out and was like, would you like to be affiliate? I'm like, why not? I use your product and I genuinely enjoy it. I probably make on average $1,000 a month, and I put out 2 videos a month on that. 2. So for me, I feel like today is one of the easiest ways to go out and make money. Clothing lines. Do you know how easy it is to sell a bunch of merch on a clothing line right now? If you're even like, and I say this, if you're even remotely what's considered aesthetically pleasing in today's societal terms, and you decide you want to throw out a clothing line and you know how to make some decent videos and you know how to pick the right music, that's it.
I agree with you that there seems to be more opportunity, but you're also like a person who seems to be able to easily organize your thoughts and what you're trying to do. And I think that's like the biggest problem is like everyone tries to do a little bit of everything and then they end up doing nothing basically.
Yeah.
Chasing their tail.
But I mean, there's ways to, because you can learn those skills, right? Like there's a lot of great books on it. I'm big on writing things down. I have a board in my house. Like if you've watched any of my online content, you'll see it because I will walk through my board and it's my goals board and I update it as things go and I add new things and it keeps me organized. And I read that every morning. This is what I'm working towards. And it level sets me because the way that I structure my day is does what I'm doing now fit the goals that I have?
Does it serve me? If not, don't do it.
Exactly. And if I'm not good at it, again, to your point, outsource it. It doesn't have to be expensive because you just said it. Fiverr's got people who are willing to do VA work for like $4 an hour. And for them, that's a great wage because of the difference in cost of living. So outsource it. 10 hours a week for someone else to handle these tasks that maybe you're not strong at are going to give you such a heightened level of productivity and customer satisfaction. It's worth the benefit. So you have to work smarter. Like work smarter. Like if one of the oldest kids in our group, he's 19. He wants to get into real estate, which I think is great. But I was like, I won't push you on this. I'm going to wait until you come to me with it. And he did. He has 2 houses he wants to go see. Now, he's been coming with and helped me with the tiny home, and which has been great. But it's teaching him, 1, it's not easy. You're going to put in work, especially with your first couple of projects. And 2, do you really like it? Because I think another thing people have a hard time with and finding what they want to do is they don't have enough exposure. Expose yourself to new things. You don't know what you're going to love if you've never tried it. I tell my kids to try everything. I'm like, try everything. If you hate it, great. We won't do that again. If you love it, awesome. Let's look into it more. Because there's again, in today's society, you can do anything you want and be lucrative.
And when you're young, it's smart to do it. Like, just do it for experience.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
The old rich dad, poor dad, just get a job, not for money, but for experience.
Yes. And just keep building on that. And I always tell my kids, I'm like, listen, I don't care how much you make. Do I want you to be successful? Yes. But more than that, I want you to be happy. But I feel like when you are happy, you're typically successful. Like people don't spend enough time finding things that they love to do. And if you hate doing something, stop doing that. Please don't do that. It's not good for your mental health and you're not going to be successful there. People are not successful in jobs they hate.
And you're wasting your time.
You are.
And I think a lot of people complicate it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's another segue. Being that Cory has refurbished our studio with the outwork everyone, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Outwork everyone. Then you take that outwork everyone.
Yes.
Then you give Cory his flowers.
Oh, my boys got the merch.
So then you just put that on a hat.
My boys got the merch.
There you go, Cory.
Thanks, man.
That's a big deal.
And then you get it on a different style hat. It's just you come up with an idea, and then you just keep going from there. You just gotta, you just can't stop. Like we were saying about you earlier.
You just gotta go.
You gotta keep going. You just gotta keep going.
Well, build a brand.
Yeah.
This is about it's brand management, right? And I stress this to my kids all the time. I'm like, you are your own brand. That's it. Every day that you walk out this door, you are representing your own brand. And you need to decide, are the decisions I'm making and the way that I'm presenting to the world conducive with the brand that I want to be associated with? And it's, you build a brand. If you believe in outwork everything, that now from or outwork everyone, that is now what you do. Every time you talk to someone, what are you doing? Outworking everyone. What are you going to do tomorrow? Outwork everyone. How did you get where you're going?
Every day.
Outwork everyone. That is now your brand.
She's gonna be on our button board. Outwork everyone.
I know, it's like that Pinky and the Brain cartoon.
Yeah, what are we gonna do today, Pinky? Try to take over the world.
Yeah.
Try to take over the world.
Yes.
It's no more trying though.
But that's exactly what it is. Again, it's grit. Because I run my life on one thing, by any means necessary. That is how everybody's like, how did you do it? By any means necessary. Like I'm working 16 and 17-hour days right now and have been for like the last 8 months. I'm exhausted.
How old are your kids?
My biological children, I have a 10-year-old, just turned 17, and a 15-year-old. But across the gambit of all 7, there's 2 all the way up to 19.
Dang.
So yeah. So Lance and his wife have 2 little boys, Lex and Elsie. They're so great. Like they're so much fun. And I didn't have to have the babies, which makes it even more fun. And then they've got 2 older boys, one who is just turned 16 and then the 19-year-old. But it's a gambit of stuff going on at all times. Sports, kids, cars. I'm driving a rental right now because my daughter crashed a car again, which is great. But
Life.
Every time. It's all right. It's not a big deal. Just figure it out. By any means necessary.
So you're talking about you went from the virtual assistant stuff, you went to the corporate stuff, you got the real estate stuff. Is there anything I'm missing? Is there anything missing in there?
Oh God. I own a social media branding company. That's what Cubana Lana is. So I use that to partner with brands to help them sell their items. I actually have a call with a gentleman later this week who is asking me to help redo the branding for his company. He's getting ready to launch his social media brand. My kids run a pet sitting business. They do pretty well on that.
Big guy he babysits pets.
Yeah, we just had a cat with diabetes, so we had to learn how to give insulin shots. That was new. And we just had a giant dog who we've had several times before since he was a puppy, but he's like tripled in size. He's great. He's super nice. Yeah, they're great. They're really used to it. They understand feeding schedules. I make them do the meet and greets. I make them talk to the pet owners. They do drop-offs and pickups. They manage feeding schedules. Liam is responsible for checking on them, taking them outside, that type of stuff. The girls are the ones who do all the customer interfacing with all the pet parents, and they all kind of take turns and feedings and whatever. And this time we had insulin, so they took turns giving the cat his medicine and stuff. So yeah, it's good.
That's crazy, man.
Making them responsible.
Well, I'm like, they wanted a way to make like their own money, and like Liam's not old enough to work, obviously, and Leah has had trouble finding jobs because they don't really hire at 15 anymore. So I'm like, all right, well,
do they not?
They don't really. They used to.
I feel like everyone that works at like fast food is like 10.
It's like 16.
No, not Menards. No, Menards is 16, I think.
We've called so many places, but I've hired my daughter on to help me with some of the client work. So she helps me with some of that now. And I mean, it's decent money. I pay like $20 an hour.
I did the same, hired my daughter for my emails for deleting. And then school started, and it's like she just went on 3-month leave so far. So I don't.
Yeah.
Is that why you ain't been replying to my emails, man?
Yeah, the ones that say call me.
Yeah. No, I think it's incredibly important to kind of start fostering that in them. And I think it teaches them self-reliance as well. Because I like this weekend, I had all that stuff going on with the tiny home, and we had 2 pets at the house, and I was like, you guys are on duty.
How crazy is it that I feel like almost everyone grows up in kind of has everyone's like, well, I want to be a business owner, but then they end up settling into a job because that's what everyone tells them they got to do.
Mhm.
But then when you look at history, and someone brought this up to me one time, like it's only been like 100 years that we've had like these corporate jobs and these corporate situations. Prior to that, everybody was a self-employed business owner.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You were like a
Mhm.
blacksmith or a baker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You were shining shoes. Everyone had their own business.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's school.
It
That's
is.
school. That's
No,
what
it
do you want to
is.
be when you grow up? One
Yep.
thing that you pick one thing, and then you
Like,
lose
how
all
do
your
you
creativity.
So interesting study on that. So they did a long time study over children. And so basically children from like the age to 0 to 5, 80% tested to be genius level, right? Then they tested the same group from like 5 to I think 10, 50% tested.
It's pushing
It
it
keeps
down.
declining because we as a society kill the magic in our children. Like I firmly believe that children are magic. They're magic because of their curiosity. They're magic because they see the world with just this open lens, right? Like they're this clean, beautiful slate. And we predispose them to just take that away. Sit still, don't talk, don't ask too many questions. That
yeah,
is
don't ask for anything. I struggled with the whole don't ask for anything because I feel like that's part. Like you just mentioned that you ask for a $2 raise with
Yeah.
every new position you got.
Yes.
It's like a lot of people are scared to ask for stuff from their boss or supervisor or whatever.
Yes.
And so like I felt like I was really weird about that with my kids because I was like, if I keep telling them to quit asking me for stuff,
They're
then
never
they're
going to
gonna
open their mouth.
then they're never gonna
Mhm.
ask for what they want when they get older.
Yeah.
So then I remember being in a really weird situation where I was like, it's okay. I remember like reminding my kids, like, it's okay to ask.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to do that right now.
Yeah.
But then it became like now they're hearing no all the time. You know what I mean? Because now
Yeah.
they're asking for stuff everywhere.
But it also teaches them to keep it because here, like it teaches you grit. Because here's the deal: you're going to hear a lot of no's in life, but you only need one yes. I tell my kids that all the time. I'm like, I don't care how many people tell me no. I only need one yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell me no, that's fine. I'll go ask somebody else. I'm just going to keep going. And I ingrain that in my kids because I'm like, and to your point, you have to self-advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I allow my kids to question my parenting. And a lot of people are like, you do what? And I'm like, they're going to go out into the world and I don't want them blindly following people or think people can treat them however they want to. So my kids will question sometimes and I apologize to my children.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm wrong or if I handled something poorly or if I was like crabby and it wasn't fair, I apologize.
Yeah, I apologize all the time too. Normally it's because I snap out.
Yeah.
I'm like, shut up, go to your room. And then 5 seconds later, I'm like, I'm sorry.
It's not the way I should have handled that. Yes.
When I think I was like 17 or 18, I started playing basketball at this church. And it's funny because I didn't go to the church or anything. I just wanted to play basketball. So I kind of showed up every now and then because I realized I had a team.
Yeah.
And I remember the first couple times I played basketball, the pastor was somebody who I could relate with. He was a little bit younger. He's a biracial dude. He reminded me a lot of myself,
Yeah.
And I remember he always I overheard him telling somebody that I was a hard worker. He was always like, Cory works so hard out there, blah, blah, blah. And my whole life up to that point, ain't no one called me hard worker before. You know what I mean? So I was like, and for me, that kind of like changed me. Like, outwork everybody. Like, okay, I can work hard. You know what I mean? So then I started Googling stuff about this situation as I got older because I have kids of my own. I have 3 kids, plus I take care of my niece.
Mm.
And I was like, I read something in some article where they were talking about how kids will benefit a lot more from you telling them that they are working hard or congratulating them for working so hard, rather than like saying like, like you won, good job or whatever. Like say like, wow, you worked really hard. Like you got what you deserve. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so now every single day I tell my kid that he's a hard worker and I tell him he's a leader and I tell him he's the greatest of all time. I say it every single day before he gets on the bus. It's like me just trying to like embed into his brain.
Yes.
Like, like I'm not going to let anybody I don't want him to be influenced by other kids. I want him to remember that he's a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I want him to remember that he can work hard and achieve whatever he wants. And I just throw in the GOAT thing every now and then because he thinks that's cool. So I just throw that in there. Yeah, I mean, but yeah.
It's important.
I used to tell my kids when they get out the car, I got to start telling them again that they're the smartest.
Mm-hmm.
When I drop them off at school, I said, remember, you're the smartest. You're the smartest in your class.
Yep.
They probably didn't really, resonate with them, but I would say, you're the smartest in your class.
It will, though. Like often, I don't think you realize the mentalities that parents have ingrained in you until you're older. And then you start thinking about it. You're like, oh, yeah.
It's all about willpower though, because in the morning I'm like, "Hey man, you're a leader. You know, you're the greatest of all time." And then by the end of the day, I'm like, "Get your ass upstairs and do the laundry."
Shut the fuck.
That's good.
The trumpet is too loud.
That was funny. That was so funny.
I mean, I feel like it's equal parts, right? Like I have very high expectations for the kids, and they know that. And I was like, well, I expect a lot because I know you can do a lot and you're capable of a lot. I'm like, I never said this is going to be easy. But I also tell them, I was like, I'm proud of you every day, always. There's never a question. I was like, we are 10 toes down for all of eternity. But if I feel like you're not living up to your potential, I'm going to be like, what are you doing? And I'm going to call you on that. And I mean, I swear, like, I'm very candid with my kids. I'm like, well, that was stupid. How did that go? Like, didn't I tell you not to do that? Stuff like that. But then also I'll be like, you killed it today. I'm proud of you and you did really well. But I do think that there's got to be that healthy balance of being like, you feel like you're living up to your potential and yeah, no, you're not. Like today you're kind of sucking at it. So I'm going to need you to do better. Like, I think it's a healthy balance between those two things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the world's not going to
coddle you.
Yeah. Even though they do, everybody gets a trophy. That's not real life.
I do not agree with that.
I don't agree with that either.
That's not real life. There are winners and there are losers. And that's a fact.
Well,
and
if you want to win, work for it.
Yeah.
Work for it.
It shouldn't be given to you.
No. And it sets the bar so low. Yeah, that's what I don't like.
You can take one thing and look at politics. There's winners and losers. And that's like the top tier. So everybody doesn't, we got two presidents. No, they're not doing that.
No, you lost.
Yeah.
You lost.
Did you see the little TikTok with the coach, the baseball coach that talks about he's talking to the kid. he's like, listen, he's like, it's not okay to lose. He's like, if any of your dads told you that it's not about winning or losing, it's how you play the game, guess what? Your dad's a loser. I was dying. My son sent me that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll fully admit, like, Liam played football last year for the first time. I was not a fan of him playing football because I know it's a rough sport and like you can get hurt. My brother broke all kinds of stuff when he was playing, but also like the coaches, football it's a brazen sport. So they're like, get out, like screaming at the kids all day. Like I have to like turn my mom button off so that I'm not like, dude, if you scream at my kid one more time, I'm going to lose it out here. And I'm like, I have to just sit there and be like, this is just football. This is what they do. This is what coaches say. And it's funny to me because you do got to like turn it down a little. Like as a mom, I'm like, did you just scream at my son? Are you crazy?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I coach football.
Yeah. See what I mean? Like, but I try not to be one of those parents where you're like, oh God.
Not every coach
does that.
Yeah. And that's not normal. And there's different ways to motivate.
Well, I think
kids.
It's funny because we got what 5 coaches on our team, and I know the defensive coach, he gets pretty heated, man. He gets pretty heated. The offensive coach, he's never heated. He's always calm and cool, collected. It just depends. It's kind of like the good cop, bad cop situation.
Yeah.
You know
I didn't have to talk to kids like that to get them to respond when I was coaching. I just treated them as if they were adults and we were a professional team.
Yeah.
So you want to be in the pros? This is what we're going to do. We're going to have somebody change every day. When we come to practice, they're going to be the leader to stretch. We're going to hold each other accountable. If you see somebody make a mistake or you see somebody need help, you go and help them.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff, I'm putting the onus on you because I'm not out there, but we are one team. We're going to win together. We're going to lose together.
Yeah.
But it was not a lot of, rah, rah. No, we're going to work this out and we're going to get better as we go.
Yeah.
And you have homework assignments. So you got to catch 50 passes, tonight. So your parent has to be involved.
Yeah.
So somebody's got to be involved if you want to get better, and we want to get better as a team. So
they weren't like, I guess like overly they weren't disrespectful. They're just like loud, and I'm
you can't. Yeah, you're not gonna be disrespectful to a kid, but it's okay to get loud,
a little aggressive
now and then.
Some coaches live through, and parents live through their kids, and that's not.
Well, and you make it not fun for the kid.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, at the end of the day, like, yes, I want you to develop the skills and all the stuff that comes along with playing sports, but I also want you to enjoy it. I don't want to like kill the magic in this for you. And I do see that, like, I see a lot of parents do that. And I'm like, God, I would never want you to come to my games if you were screaming at me like that and just like ruining the moment.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's terrible. And the poor kids are out there like crying. And I'm like, none of this looks fun for them. Like, I don't know. Like when Liam told me he didn't want to play again, which he's kind of a little guy and the kids on the other team were massive. And he took a couple of decent hits and he was like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that.
My daughter tried to quit dance like 5 or 6 years ago. And I was the parent that was like, nah, it's too soon. Like you're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing it for a while. And now she loves it. And she's like a teacher assistant. She's there like 4 or 5 days a week. She's on like a competition line and everything else. So if I would have let her quit, she wouldn't have the stuff that she enjoys right now. So
I told him he had to finish the season. So he tried to like quit like mid-season.
Oh, mid-season.
And I was like, no. I'm like, you committed to your team and your coach that you were going to play. I'm like, you're going to suck it up and finish the season. I was like, no, if you hate it at the end of the season, cool. You don't have to sign up again next year. I'm like, but you committed. So you'll finish the season. And I thought he would change his mind. I thought the same thing would happen. I thought he would be like, oh, this isn't so bad. No.
So we tried that with our oldest. He's he'll be 22 in December.
Yeah.
But he was playing and he wanted to quit. He didn't like running and, you know, the contact. And like, no, you're going to finish the season. But he kept tackling wrong. So he was putting himself in jeopardy.
Of getting hurt.
Yeah. So break an arm, break a leg. And it was like, okay, if you're not going to make the adjustments, we got to get you out of here because you obviously don't love it, but we don't want you to get hurt. And
so Rob J was like, I know how I can quit. All I got to do is keep messing up my form.
Injuring myself.
So he got out of there.
Yeah. But I have a lot of coaches in my life, and of course they're all like, you should have made him stay and all that stuff. I'm like, listen, again, I tell my kids to try everything. You tell me you want to try something, I'm like, cool, we're on. But if you hate it, then don't do it again. Yeah. We'll try something else. He's great at golf. Maybe he'll be a golf player, whatever. But my mom was a little different. Like she made me stay in things for a really long time, and majority of them I'd never liked.
See, my parents wouldn't even pay for me to do anything. So
these were community programs.
I didn't even have anything to quit. I played basketball.
Yeah.
Well, we do know that this was a great podcast today.
We know that for sure. I mean, we covered a plethora of topics. I feel like we're just getting started, man.
Yeah.
Too bad it's so late.
Yeah, that was good.
So, Lana, we appreciate you coming on. So, how can people find you?
I'm on all social medias as Cubana Lana. Like that's me. You'll find me pretty much, and all of them are pretty much open. None of them are closed. Why?
And I think her slogan is "fuck around and find out."
That is, believe it or not, that's me. I believe in that. That's kind of how I raise my kids too. I tell them like, well, try it out, see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this episode. And until next time, peace. Yeah, we then could have started, but it's never late. Do it for my kids, yeah, let's set it straight. For your kids, gotta set it straight. It's time to regulate.
For the video podcast and other exclusive video content, check us out on YouTube. That's The Rob and Cory Show on YouTube.